Okay, so my business is PostFav, and what we do is we connect restaurants, specifically the Atlanta restaurant base, with bloggers and social media influencers here local in the city. And so what we're doing specifically for the businesses is that we're providing them a low-cost customer acquisition model to acquire new business, help retain their existing customers by utilizing local bloggers to create awareness for their establishments, drum up some very organic and authentic buzz by connecting their influence with their follower pool and incentivizing them to come into those establishments. So, we're kind of the new wave, Groupon, if you will, but specifically for the blogging community with the restaurants to get them some very organic users to come into their establishments.
Wow.
So, this is a new space for me. Restaurant is definitely not the background that I come from. I entered into entrepreneurship about 2 years ago when I started working for a friend of mine who was starting a startup. And so that kind of really opened my eyes to the possibilities of entrepreneurship to start with. That's around the same time that I started my own personal blog. So I was doing a fashion blog, and I still run that with my sister. And so very passionate about the blogging community and helping create opportunities for people like me. And so I thought about, what can I do that would create more exposure and more resources for the blogging community. And so I dabbled into the fashion industry for a while and said, okay, maybe I can find some opportunity there. But I didn't really see the connection between what I was doing and creating a great business around it for the retail community. And so I connected with some of the food bloggers here in Atlanta and sat down and talked to them about the idea of creating more opportunities for bloggers, and they said restaurants, like that's where you want to be. And that's how I kind of opened my eyes to the whole food industry in Atlanta altogether. So I knew that I want to create an opportunity to create more exposure for bloggers, but I didn't know what the other side of the business was going to be at the time. I didn't know who was going to be my customer or my client and what industry I was going to find my niche. And so I was struggling with that piece, and connecting with them, I started sitting down and talking about what it looked like from a restaurant standpoint and how desperate the restaurants were in need of that kind of new wave marketing. And so influencer marketing is a very foreign concept to the restaurant industry. Like, you hear a lot about it in retail with high-end, retailers using celebrities and bloggers and things of that nature. But the food industry was like, this is kind of foreign. They do, their ads through Facebook and they're on, Open Table and trying to get exploring, being discovered in so many different ways, but bloggers weren't something that they were used to. And so we thought about, how can we create a model that would introduce this to them and show the true benefit. And so I connected with some of the kind of head food bloggers here in Atlanta, who are a part of some of the Georgia associations of food bloggers and things of that nature. And we just started it right there. We said, we're going to bring on some really, really great food bloggers, and I'm going to go and kind of hit the fit to pavement and go and acquire restaurants. And that's kind of how it developed. To me, it's the ability to help people with really no end to what that looks like. So I come from a corporate background. So before I entered into entrepreneurship, I was working in a corporate establishment for about 8 years. And, even being a leader, it kind of capped out. Like, you have like a framework into how you have to lead, and you can only kind of do so much like within, these four walls of working in a corporate environment. So I wasn't in full control of what that looked like what my leadership looked like, or how far I could take myself or take my employees or the people that I was working with. Everything was hitting, some point was going to hit a ceiling, and I would kind of breach at that point. And for me, it's just the ability to kind of create the destiny and create the path on my own. And so for the people that I work with and the opportunities that I'm creating for the bloggers and all the exposure that I'm creating, it never ends. Like, I can come up with a brand new idea tomorrow and a new way to market myself and market my business and get people going, and no one's going to tell me that's too much, or we can't, you got to stop now, or this is not really company policy. I create it 100%. And I just like the control of being able to steer my own ship and no one saying, no, that's not really, black and white enough. We have to kind of do it this way. And so I can kind of throw the paint everywhere and make all the colors blend to create something that's very close and dear to my heart, and no one's telling me it's too much or it's not enough. I think it's a little bit of both, honestly, because I think that we are all born very unique in a sense that there's something inside of us that I think all of us have, like a little entrepreneur bug like inside of us. But some of us have the ability to allow that to blossom on our own, or we have to surround ourselves with people of the like, whether it be from their personal experience, their professional experience, people who've had education in that we kind of need someone to kind of open our eyes to it. So I think that all of us are born, in my opinion, as natural entrepreneurs, but somehow along the way we get steered into paths, and it could be because of our kids and our lifestyles and just things take us into different directions that everyone doesn't have the opportunity to pursue entrepreneurship. And then again, if we all did, then who would be working in all these places that we like to go to? So I think that we all have it in us, but I think that everybody doesn't have that innate ability to execute in entrepreneurship. So for me, I felt like there was always something kind of inside that I knew that I didn't want to be kind of controlled by some mass surrounding, that I wanted to kind of be in charge of the destiny and the legacy that I created for myself and for my family. But at the same time, when I partnered with my entrepreneur friend, which kind of helped steer this whole process, I got to see things in a different light, and that kind of helped solidify it for me. It was like, you know what, yes, this is where I want to be, this is what I want to do, because I got to see someone else walking in that light. So I think that for entrepreneurs who are kind of scared to enter it, it's because they don't really see it being done well, or have someone that they can kind of turn to and say, I trust your process, and so I'm going to take a leap of faith, or I'm going to gamble with my own decision to enter into it, because it's a scary and very risky decision to leave a very comfortable workplace to enter into entrepreneurship when this is a very rocky road. I mean, I think that it's the glossy outcome that I think that people end up rushing to. So when you see entrepreneurs or people who've created just an amazing lifestyle for themselves and just created an amazing product or service or whatever, we tend to, as the outside viewer looking in, we rush through that process and we just look at the end and just say, oh my God, like that's so amazing, like I want to do that, I want to create that. But you do not understand the amount of work, blood, sweat, tears, and all the sacrifices that person made to get from point A to point Z, because you really don't even ever really reach the end as an entrepreneur. You're always striving to make it better and keep going and make it more. So you hit these milestones, and people don't understand, in my opinion, the work that it takes to be successful, like on your own. So when you enter into a corporate structure, like it's already set up for you. It's like being born into something where it's like, okay, here's your crib, here's your blanket, here's your bottle, like we're going to take full care of you, you're safe here. But entrepreneurship, I mean, there's no rule book, there's no guidelines, there's really nothing. You have to kind of create that for yourself. And so I think that the biggest misconception is that it's easy and that I can just go and create something great and people will love it. You don't understand how many pivots you're going to take, how many times people are going to tell you that sucks or that idea is not going to work, how many people tell you, no, you're not ready, you need more training, you need more education, you need more funds, you need more resources. It's just a really, really tough road to go through, and you have to be very strong and committed to what it is that you're doing to be able to jump over hurdle after hurdle after hurdle and go to sleep and more hurdles and wake up and more hurdles and go to sleep and do it all over again. So I think people just think it's like you see the end and you see people who've made it successfully as entrepreneurs and you're like, oh, well, that was a breeze, I should just quit my job today and go do that. And it's way harder. Well, the first one for me has always just been self-reflection, and doing that on a consistent basis, because you have to start with understanding why you're doing something. Like, to be successful, one, there has to be a customer, there has to be a need, and you have to be able to execute it. And so when you sit back and think about, what is it that I'm creating and why am I creating it, and constantly having those moments of just reflection back on, what have I done, how successful have I been in it, am I truly creating something that the universe needs, and being flexible when it comes to shifting and changing and understanding the customer. So just, you have to constantly check in with yourself and understand that the way that you think things should be aren't going to necessarily parlay into that same timeline, because your customer is going to tell you what it is that they want, and you're not going to be able to say anything about that, because ultimately they're going to be the ones that are going to be paying you your money, and you have to make sure that you're creating a product for them. So just being open and receptive to that type of feedback requires that kind of self-reflecting and that quiet time to be able to say, okay, let me just make sure that I have that right. The second piece that I would say would be the resources. Is that as entrepreneurs, you think about it and you say, okay, well, that's one person. You don't understand the importance of the team and the support of the people around you. And that looks different for certain people. So it's not necessarily going to be your family and friends, because those are the people who are most invested in you. So you probably want to kind of stretch away from that and kind of expand your resources. And so that's why the Tech Village has been so great for me and my company, because I've been able to leverage resources and have sit down conversations with people who have been through the same processes that I have. And so having someone around you, or having a group of people that you can kind of lean off of, because it gets so hard and it gets so challenging, but you never really know how close you are to something, or how much access the next person has to get you to exactly kind of where you want to be if you just sat down and looked at your resources. So, resources are people. Resources are obviously things. Resources can be locations. It's just being mindful of how many things can help you get to where you want to be, and utilizing that pool. So the first one would be, in my opinion, is definitely having that self-reflection and the time to kind of check in with yourself on a consistent basis. I would say that the resources would be next. And then the third thing that kind of sticks out to me the most would be, at the end of the day, you have to understand that if you don't make the shifts that the industry is kind of telling you that you need to make, then you won't really have it. So you got to be you can never really be too comfortable in one place. Your idea is great, and what I've learned about entrepreneurship is that you have to have a ping pong kind of mindset, and that if you're too set in one way because you woke up and said, this is what the world needs, this is what's going to be great, this is what has to happen, then you're going to fail at that mindset, because people are going to be telling you kind of what needs to happen. And so with that all being said, the third one is really about failing fast. And so I don't believe in failing slow. You have to have the momentum to go, and with all that noise that you're hearing and all that feedback from your customer, you have to be flexible in order to make those shifts and make those changes. But if you're going to drag out the model, it's going to become exhausting for you. So it's get in, make the shifts, make the adjustments, but fail quickly so that you can figure out what the next move is going to be. So if it takes you 6 months to find your first failure, then you're doing it way too slow. You should fail on a weekly basis so that you can pick yourself back up and figure out what the next move would be. So self-reflect, definitely fail quickly, and truly just be at the mercy of your customer. Move and shake as they tell you have to. So in general, for Atlanta, I would probably say, I see quite a few black entrepreneurs here in Atlanta, trying to do their thing in a lot of different spaces. So I come across them, in the restaurant industry, come across a couple of them in here. But on a general, it's not as strong as I would want to see it, for sure. I would probably say for a city, we're probably about maybe a 6, maybe. And so for me, this is a different space, because I kind of got a couple things working for me. And so I am an African American entrepreneur. Obviously, I am a female entrepreneur. I'm under 30 and I work in technology. So for me, I feel like this is like my time. Like on a scale of 1 to 10 with all of those factors, I'm like right around like a 9.5, because I feel like if I don't suck up all of this right now, then I'm gonna be losing like my time. And so I have to really capitalize on that like as it is right now. So for me, I just feel like with Black entrepreneurship, it's not as strong as I think it could be, because I don't think that people see enough people doing it and doing it well. So, you know, we have the Black Entrepreneur Summits and things of that nature, you know, once a year where you bring all these people together, but I don't feel like it's a strong enough community of African American entrepreneurs to be able to say that it's okay. Like, it's okay to enter into this. Like, literally, I am one of probably 5 African American females like in this building that are pursuing a technology background type of business. So it's like we kind of stand out like outliers, and so that kind of makes it a little uncomfortable, I think, to enter into entrepreneurship, because you don't see enough people like you doing it. But to me, that's more the reason to want to have your voice heard and step into it and kind of step in the sticky mud and be amongst people who don't necessarily look like you. That's what makes you stick out amongst a room of many, because people don't really see a lot of people like you doing what you're doing. So I think it could be stronger, but I just think that we need more opportunities to come together like as a community. Like, to me, the events that we have as Black entrepreneurs, I mean, they're kind of a dime a dozen. They don't happen as frequently as I think that they should happen, but we have to look at, you know, who's putting those things together. And in our community, we don't really row together and say, you know, we're going to create something for our community and we're going to do this on a consistent basis. You're just waiting on the next man to host the next event and then you'll go. But it could be stronger. It's so exciting, because the friends that I have and other mentors that I've worked with and people from high school and from college, I mean, so many Black women are like trying to figure out the next kind of thing that they can create. And so that's super, super, super inspiring to have people so close to me wanting to do that. And then just seeing kind of women kind of pop up all over the place, opening up their own boutiques and own salons and own spas and just things of that nature. It's so inspiring. Like I said, it doesn't have to necessarily be in tech, but just to be in control like of that car and just saying, this is the route that I'm going to take and this is how I'm going to create it for my family. Seeing more and more African American women stepping out that way is very refreshing. And so I would say that in Atlanta, I do see that even the people that are in my close circle are always talking something around, trying to create something and do something and just be more than just an employee for another company. Because I'm a firm believer in, you know, if you do not literally take the time to stop and build your own legacy, you'll continue building the legacy of someone else. So that's a completely different experience. It's millennial. So I'm going to go with millennial specifically because we're tapping into social media and we're introducing something to restaurants that they have not experienced before, and we're working with the millennials in doing that. And so when you think about where their customers are spending most of their time, or the customers that they're wanting to come into their establishment, where they're spending most of their time, and they're on social media. And so the millennial marketers truly are the influencers on social media, and that's been consistently repeating in different statistics and different articles online. The impact of the new wave celebrity truly is the influencers on social media. I mean, you would think like, okay, you know, true celebrities, like the ones that we can, you know, roll off our tongue, yeah, that's great. But if you think about what's making the most impactful, organic, and authentic impact to the users are the people who follow non-celebrities. I mean, people with thousands and thousands of followers just for living a lifestyle that is not even in the limelights, no paparazzi, none of that. And so connecting those type of people with restaurants and saying, you bring them in, you have a complimentary dining experience catered just to them, They're going to write about you, they're going to talk about you, they're going to share about you on their social media, and they're going to connect with that millennial audience that you would have never been able to get in front of. And it's an audience that's trusted because they're listening to someone that they have invested their time into, which is this influencer. And so it's just been a completely eye-opening experience for them, seeing the customer traction coming back to them in a way of marketing that they never would have done before. So, you know, we're catering to the millennials when it comes to our blogger pool, and we're showing the restaurants that if you tap into this market, then you're going to get some real customers coming back to your establishments that you would have not necessarily been able to tap into with your current marketing tactics. And so we have a very millennial focus with this business. So PostFav is truly your next marketing buzz. You need PostFav if you're looking to acquire new customers for your establishment. You're looking for a low-cost model, low-risk model that's going to bring you new customers in your seats and keep them retained. With our model, we specifically connect your restaurant with local influencers, local bloggers who come in, write about your establishment, and share the greatness of their experience back with their audience. That essentially brings back new customers to your business at a very, very low cost of acquisition to you. And we're looking for businesses, specifically sole proprietor businesses, who are looking for that additional buzz, looking for new and creative ways to connect with the customer. You know, we're not your next daily deal site. We're not your next coupon, type of business where you're just kind of giving away the bank just to bring in customers. No, we're saying we're going to bring in people who want to be there. So they're not coupon chasers. They're looking to follow the behaviors of local influencers who they trust, who they look to every day for inspiration. And when they say go, the customers are going to go. And so this is the type of model that you definitely would want if you're looking to kind of create an opportunity to connect with a more organic, more authentic type of customer that is coming to you specifically by word of mouth by someone that's trusted in the city of Atlanta. And that's our model. So you would want to check us out at www.postfav.com, where you can take a look at all of our influencers and see our low-cost model and get started today.